Welcome into Like That, a sports podcast where myself, Brooklyn, and Nick dive into the numbers, trying to figure out who's your best fantasy options, who are the plays of the week, and giving you everything when it comes to the sports world. Although right now, a little late into the NFL season, but we're mainly talking football. But again, alongside me, Brooklyn and Nick, and guys, first episode, the pilot episode. How are we feeling?
Pilot going into week 5, man. Tensions are already mid swing in the NFL season, but never a better time to start. Well, than never, but we're here.
I'm
I
feeling
mean,
pretty
there's
good, honestly. I mean, it's been an exciting first month of football. Very interesting in the fantasy aspect of everything. Definitely, players that we took very high that have changed, and players that went very low that it's been interesting. But it's been pretty cool to watch, and it's been entertaining. That's for sure.
I know we're starting a little later into the season, but I think for the last 4 weeks, the three of us have been talking too much on who do I start here, who do I draft here, and looking at game lines over unders. And at some point, I said, why don't we put this homework in front of a camera, And I think a good way to talking about how we're all here to maybe make a little bit of money, but I want to hear so far through 4 weeks, I want to hear about your worst beat because I don't know if you guys got a worse one than me because week one start out the year. We've got the Cowboys. I take the over on the game, Cowboys Eagles, and through 3 quarters, I took the over 47 and a half, and they were at 43 with 17 minutes of football left. The percent chance of the over hitting was at 99.4. And then we get a weather delay in week one, and then we don't see any more points for the rest of the game. Terrible beat.
I mean, I don't know about you, Brooklyn, but for me, it was a few weeks ago. It was Rams spread against the Eagles. I'm pretty sure a lot of people had that bet. A lot of people had that pick. Very last minute play, of course. Last minute touchdown gets them out of the cover. Very tough. It was a rough week for me in general for picks too. That one was just icing on the cake for me, also.
Well, not only was the kick blocked, but with the line at 3.5, you didn't necessarily need the Rams to kick it in. You just needed
No,
Jordan Davis not to run 70 yards and return it when the game already is over.
the one unplausible thing that could have happened actually happened, and a lot of people lost money over it. But hey, man, that's the beauty of football. Beauty of football.
I suppose I'm lucky to not have like a crazy gut wrenching beat like that so far. I did unfortunately for a couple buddies sell a parlay for us last this past weekend. We had a Bijan over on his alternate 70 rushing yards. That cashed by the third quarter. Falcons won that game against the Commanders. Bucky Irving 3 receptions, that was fine. Pats -5.5, that cleared. They destroyed the Panthers. Rams beat the Colts, a little sweaty for us, or at least at first. And I was thinking about that pick, and then Jags +3.5 spread was all fine. It was up until that Chargers against the Giants game. Jackson Dart's getting his first start. Overall, I would think the Chargers still should beat the Giants there. And I took the Chargers over 24.5 total points. Now they finished with 18 on a drive, coming down to possibly either just beat the Giants there, and all he needed was that touchdown and a field goal to cover, and they just could not put a successful drive together in the fourth quarter. So that was rough because we went 6-7. We went 6 for 7 there. Feel bad to the boys. I kind of sold the lay there. That could have got us a fat 300, but we move on.
For everybody that's as that should play. So yeah, listen to our podcast. All three of us have told our best stories, right? Yeah, we're the guys to listen to.
Yeah, I know, right? Definitely take our picks.
Um, but again, we're a little late already, so why not jump straight into the action here? And there are a couple. All three of us picked out a game that we specifically really like this week. Not no gambling advice here, but we're reading the numbers. We're telling what we like. And Nick wanted to specifically highlight the Lions at Bengals. Line opened up at 10. I believe it moved to 10.5 now. And what do you see there, Nick?
Yeah. So I mean, aside from week one, it was a little shaky for the Lions. I mean, obviously they lost to the Packers, but since then they've been a powerhouse. In the last 3 weeks, they've put up 30 plus points. Bengals defense has allowed 29 points per game through 4 weeks, and a lot of this too. A lot of the narrative on Jake Browning and the Bengals offense, like a lot can be put up the blame for that, but this defense is just not great. I mean, they're top 10 in passing. The Lions obviously are a top 10 in passing offense at 226 passing yards per game, while the Bengals are bottom three passing defense as they allow 262 passing yards. And as we've seen from the Lions in previous years, previous weeks, that if you slack in pass coverage, they will make you pay for it, and Jared Goff can throw for 6 touchdowns. I don't necessarily say that's going to happen in this game, but just based off of the numbers and based off of how this Bengals defense has been playing through the first 4 weeks, can't say it's great, especially letting up 40 plus points to a Carson Wentz led Vikings team. Granted, most of those points came up from the defense, but still wasn't a great look. And going into this season, I mean, defensively too, Lions have a great defense. Bengals O line was ranked 31st in the league according to PFF grade, which is really bad. They've allowed 13 sacks on the season. I mean, that's a narrative with Joe Burrow. Obviously, he just can't stay in the pocket long enough. He gets beat up too much. That's been the same thing with Browning too in his last 2 starts. And Lions are second in the league in sacks so far this year at 15 as a team. So, I mean, not endorsing any gambling, but from the numbers standpoint, I like them covering 10.5. I think they could do more, but I mean, I like it as a pick in general. I liked them last week too against the Browns, -10. They covered that no problem. They covered by 14, I think. I'm pretty sure. Could be wrong there. But that's my pick for this week. I'm going with the Lions.
Now, see, like the Lions, or excuse me, the Bengals, I think are bad on quite literally like every facet of the ball. Like the O line is bad, the D line is bad. They've really struggled on offense. I know you bring up a lot of the passing yards, but do you think this game kind of turns into a blowout and you see a lot more from the run? Like when talking fantasy wise perspective, like is this a game that you see like more David Montgomery usage, more ground and pound against the Bengals because you get an early lead? And then even on the flip side there, like, I mean, the secondary for the Lions is probably the weakest part of their defense. And
Hmm.
again, Browning, I mean, Browning in the past, when you go back to last year, like he was serviceable as a quarterback, but you know, the O line play has been absolutely abysmal. So like do you expect to see like I mean, Jake Browning has been like our since taking over has been one of the worst QBs in the league, and the Bengals have not put points on the board. So I know looking through your future your magic 8 ball here, we're just taking some shots and asking if you know the full script. But like, do we finally get to see some offense from this Bengals team this week, or do you think it's just gonna be a straight up ass whooping?
I mean, it really just all depends on if they're able to keep Browning safe in the pocket for long enough to actually I mean, Jamar's gonna be able to get open. I mean, granted, the other night against Denver, that wasn't the case. It just was a rough game all around for the offense. Um, I mean, they've had time to adjust, but then again, I mean, you're going up against a really good D line with a healthy Aiden Hutchinson, and they've just been dominant against these teams. And to go back what you said too on the run, I mean, it's Jameer Gibbs. I think he's going to be a factor no matter what. And I know David Montgomery wasn't necessarily a factor against the Browns last week, but Browns have a good run defense in general. I think they allow like less than 3 yards to carry per running backs. So I mean, if you don't have a Saquon, if you don't have a Jameer Gibbs on your team, it's going to be hard to run the ball against those teams. But I definitely see the Lions do what they usually do in their backfield and split the carries. I see David Montgomery getting a lot of goal line carries. I know he's having a lot of family come out for this game. I know that's a big narrative going into this weekend. I saw that come out.
Got
He's
to show
having,
out for the
It's
family.
he's
gotta be that's gotta
yeah,
be the deciding
he's
factor.
showing out for the family. I know he came out in the interview and said that. So I definitely see him getting usage. I see him getting a little more touches, especially after last week, him getting shut down. But I mean, with this Lions offense, it's a toss up. They could either air it out for 500 yards or and ground and pound for 200. So I see both being a factor.
Brooklyn, anything you like from this game? I don't know if you have any investment in Chase Brown as a fantasy running back, but
Can't say
that
I have any investment in Chase Brown or really the Bengals as it is. It looks like a dumpster fire of a team at the current moment. I'll talk a little bit more about Jamar Chase later on, but no, if anything, I'm hammering that Lions money line. I might put $100 on Lions money line,
oh, oh, not gambling
Oh,
advice.
but stay away from that Bengals anything at all costs.
I've kind of got a little bit of a nasty pick for my game of the week that I like. Kind of moving over. I'm going to New York. We're going to the matchup everybody's waiting to see. The Cowboys at the Jets. Two
Ugh.
two teams that I mean, what narratives they have this year. I mean, the Cowboys obviously the offseason dilemmas. You trade Parsons and then you go out on Sunday night and we see our first tie of the season. Not only is that a tie, but they put up 40 against the Packers defense. What did I learn from that game? I learned that the Cowboys offense is continuing to do what it's known to do, even without CD. You're seeing Pickens get a lot more involved. I mean, obviously there. Um, and then the Jets. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I think the Jets are the best 0-4 team out there right now. Um, and when you look at their schedule, like the Jets don't have many winnable games coming up. And I just think, there's always that one game each week that has your head scratching, kind of like last week with the Giants and Chargers. And I think this line really shows how close it is going to be. Like you're talking about a Jets team that, yeah, they lost to the Dolphins by one score. They lost to the Bucks by 2 points. Very close game there. And yeah, they got stomped on by the Bills, but Justin Fields supposedly going to be healthy, and the Cowboys defense is a bottom third defense in quite literally every metric. So maybe his easiest matchup, you're at home, and the one thing that has been really well or going well for the Jets has been the run game, both Fields and Brees Hall. So I think this is a pretty good opportunity for the Jets to get a win on the board.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you there. I would say I definitely do think that they're the worst. I mean, the best 0-4 team in the league. I mean, Brees Hall has definitely shown that he's been able to produce this year. Um, their line has looked much better in years past. I mean, Fields is kind of he hasn't been able to set up in the pocket, but I mean, he's been able to scramble, get a few yardage. I mean, in fantasy wise, that's why he's been so valuable. Mostly just for rushing touchdowns, whatnot. Um, but I mean, I definitely can see this Jets team pulling off the upset, going in, beating Dallas at home. Uh, especially if they get on the board early, I think they'll have all the momentum. But it's gonna be an
I do
interesting
believe the
game.
game is in New York,
It is in New York, yeah.
so
So
someone's
it's
tearing an
definitely,
ACL.
That's a
but
that's a
I think it's
Um,
gonna it'll be an interesting game. That's for sure.
I will say, as someone who just acquired the three Infinity Stones of the Jets
Yeah,
offense,
you need to dive deeper into that. You
Fields,
you basically are
Brees,
the
Yeah,
Jets.
and Garrett
yeah.
Wilson all on one team in a trade that I'm honestly regretting. But hindsight bias there. You know what? We'll talk about who I give up in a minute. But looking at that game, you gotta think about what Dallas just did against Green Bay. Um, yes, their defense couldn't stop Green Bay, but they also like without CD, they put up a very impressive showing, being able to hang in there with a pretty decent team. Now going against the Jets, like they are not playing up to what their talent is on to me. Obviously they've been force feeding Garrett Wilson and Brees has been getting so many touches, and like if you see the games, Justin Fields is scrambling a lot of these plays because they just cannot hold that offensive line up. Um, it should be an interesting one. I also agree like the Jets have potential to steal it, especially since they are home. But with what Dallas has been able to put together, even without CD, I genuinely think it could lean 50-50 right now.
As someone that owns Justin Fields, Brees Hall, and Garrett Wilson on a fantasy team,
Benching all of them this week, actually.
well, I was gonna say like I feel like this is like your week. No, I mean like the Dallas defense is down there with like the Dolphins as like one of the worst units in football. So are you looking at your matchups this week, kind of smiling, thinking this can be a big game for the Jets?
Well, I kind of have no choice at the current moment, given that let's just air it out. Given that I traded Puka and Baker for Garrett Wilson, George Pickens, Debo, Danny Dimes at first, a pick that or a trade that might haunt me later. But it's because I got a couple of injuries, and right now Garrett Wilson is kind of undoubtedly at least the wide receiver two on my team.
Well,
If
Garrett
we're playing
Wilson's
on
been
CD's health
incredible this
issues.
year.
He's
Hmm.
been pretty decent, but the thing is he's getting forced the ball so much that like if you look at teams like Cincinnati, like when it comes to that passing game, you really only have to take him out of the equation, and all of a sudden there's a lot less to worry about with Fields throwing the ball. So that's the one worry about having Garrett Wilson is that like it's such an easy not an easy stop, but like you just have to plug that one hole when you're playing against the Jets passing game, and then you just have to worry about running. So overall, like yeah, Dallas has been pretty bad on defense, but if you look at it, these guys are professional athletes at the same time, and you just have to stop one facet to sort of mitigate damage anywhere else. So I'm a little bit hesitant for the whole matchup as it is, given that I do have the three pieces, but they are all three must starts for me anyway this week.
I think Garrett Wilson is one of the best starts of the week. I mean, his target. Do you know the target share amongst the Jets receivers? Which I'll give a cookie to anybody
It's
that
been
can.
so lopsided. I
Yeah,
can't tell you, but
you can name three Jets
Yeah, it's
receivers, but he's getting a target share of all of north of 35%.
yeah.
So he's like Justin Fields is quite literally, if it's not a handoff to Brees, he's looking where Garrett is on the field, and if he's not open, I mean, he's taking the run. And again, I think the Cowboys have been pretty putrid that way. So looks like we got a couple Jets believers in the house. But if the Jets aren't your play, Brooklyn, what's your play of the week?
My play, specifically, I am looking at the Chargers versus the Commanders. I'm gonna go back to well, actually, let's start with the Commanders first. You know, they've had some health issues throughout the year so far. Jaden Daniels is coming back off of a knee injury, of course. Those are tricky. You know, you really can't force too much there, and he's a very scramble-heavy quarterback there. And also, McLaurin's status is something to monitor as we get closer and closer to Sunday. But if you look at the stats right now, you know the Commanders against a very passing heavy Chargers team allow north of 265 at least passing yards per game. The one stat that really brings that down like below 300 well is a 168 that they allowed against a very weak Giants offense. I think that's Russ was playing that week, and overall that's not really a game to show off like them against a typical team. Now, Commanders also are the 24th worst overall defense in the league. If you look at it from a passing standpoint, they're actually the 26th worst pass defense in the league as well. Rushing, Najee Harris is gone. Amari Hampton had a pretty good breakout game, so that's something to keep track of. But overall, in terms of where the Commanders stack up, they're pretty mediocre in that category, right around the 14th best rushing defense. But they also they've allowed at least 22 points throughout the last 4 weeks. Now, this is all contrasting against the Chargers, of which they are the fifth best passing defense. So if you're looking at, is McLaurin not playing? If he ends up not playing on Sunday, well, that just makes the Chargers have to worry about one less option there. Good thing I have Debo Samuels, right? But then looking into it, Chargers are tied right now for the third overall most they are tied for the third overall most touchdowns in the league. Also, looking at the Chargers passing, they're in the top 5 through passing yards just through the last 4 weeks. So if you're just looking at things like how they stack up against the Commanders, overall stats wise, they already look like they're the stronger team, regardless. And also, if you just look at the record, the talent right now, they do look like the stronger team. Justin Herbert has a good connection right now with Keenan Allen. Ladden is too talented to really count him out from just the first couple of weeks. And of course, we're going to get to Quentin Johnston just absolutely coming out of nowhere, being a red zone threat. The one thing to keep in mind for the Chargers is that Joe Alt just got an injury, and they are a little weak at that offensive line position. But they do have Mekhi Becton, who should be coming off a concussion and should fill that role at least to plug that damage. But I like the Chargers -2.5 spread this week against the Commanders, even taking that possibly up to -3, -3.5.
Do you think with the loss against the Giants, like say the Chargers won last week, like do you think this line is different? Because to be honest with you, at home, Jaden Daniels still not confirmed to play. Like I know he was actually at walkthroughs and such, but he's still not confirmed to play. Mariota's there. You're talking a lot about the pass defense, but regardless of each one of those quarterbacks, we both know that they like to run. And Jackson Dart showed last week that the Chargers are a little susceptible to that. So do you like? I don't know about you, Nick, but I'm kind of surprised seeing a line at 2.5 right now.
I am
I
too.
thought 2.5 is pretty low. Honestly,
Yeah.
That's why I'm thinking like if you're gonna take this line, you could even bump that up a little bit, try to find some better value, going to like -3, 3.5. It's with all those injuries up in the air, like it really could lean towards the Chargers more than it already is right now. So, you know, the Chargers are relatively healthy if you take the offensive line injuries out of there, and when it comes to like their core receiving, tight end, running back, I mean, yeah, Najee's out, but Hampton picked that up pretty quick. He should be also due for a heavy workload. So I just think -2.5 definitely is low. You could definitely bump that up a little bit, find some better value.
I
Um,
know. I know Jaden Daniels is back practicing fully healthy, so that could be a factor in there. But I mean, then again, that Commanders backfield is just a mess right now. They really don't have like a solid run game to really lean on right now. So I that's like kind of really a big factor. I mean, -2.5 is really good value, especially for the Chargers. Um, I think
And I
with
think like
Jaden
if you're
Daniels
looking at
playing,
both like money line and the spread, sorry to cut you off there. This is my last point for this game. But
there
if
you
you
go.
look at both money line and the spread, like if you're looking at a Chargers team that is just that much more like dominant against the Commanders like that, clearing it, I would think that Commanders defense isn't really certain to hold them to just 2.5. Like you can honestly even take that up to almost a touchdown at that point.
Fantasy wise, I mean, quick shout out to the wide receiver 4 on the year, Quentin Johnston. Um, we've seen Amari and Hampton really step it up in the last 2 weeks. I think he had a snap percentage of like almost 90% last week. O line gets a little bit more banged up going into this matchup. Again, I don't know where we rank with like Chargers fantasy owners here, but like, if you're an owner of Quentin Johnson or Amari Hampton, like with the all injury, like, are you more fearful in starting one or the other in some scenarios? Like, I mean, Washington last year was a pretty solid defense, and again, that O line, it's definitely taken a hit this week. So are you skeptical, or do you think that we're gonna see, pretty consistent, games from both Johnston and Hampton next week?
I mean, it's really I think Johnston has shown through the 4 weeks that he's pretty much like very involved in this offense. I know firsthand it was kind of iffy. He was just a red zone target guy. People didn't know, but it's kind of clear, especially after the last week. He's out targeted Lad McConkey all 4 weeks. Last week he had double-digit targets. I think Lad only had like 5. So I mean, it's very clear that he's Herbert's favorite receiver right now. And same thing for Hampton. I mean, he did have a slow start at the beginning of the season. If the line is going to be banged up again as a rookie, you don't necessarily know if he can produce. It all depends. Um, but I mean, with the way that he's been playing right now, I definitely do think that he can still produce a very solid game. At least find the end zone. Um, but I see overall probably Johnston having a better game. Just based off of consistency, um, game plan maybe, but I would probably lean on Johnston probably a little bit more. He's just been the more consistent player in this offense.
Start like just throw some names out there to see where we rank Hampton this week. Give him just shout out the name on who you think's gonna have a better week. Ken Walker against the Bucks, Hampton against the Commanders.
I'm probably gonna have to say Hampton only because Hampton's not splitting carries with anybody in the backfield.
I agree there. I
Um,
think yes, because
Hampton,
Charbonnet does play some roles, taking some
Amari and
carries away from Kenneth Walker. Um, Also, Charbonnet's a big under 5 yards guy. They like to power him through. So if you look at the Chargers backfield right now, he is the clear one, and that's it
Hampton, or Derrick Henry.
this week.
Possibly no Lamar. Most likely no Lamar. Houston defense.
You got to go to Eric Henry there because at the end of the day, as much as Hampton is the RB1 in Los Angeles now, like Herbert still has 3 other great options at receiver to go to. So if you're looking for who's going to get a bulk of the work, I would say Derrick Henry very clearly this week.
I'm also
Interesting.
going with Derrick Henry right
All
there,
right.
probably.
Let's actually stay talking about Derrick Henry there, because I want to kind of transition. This is a very interesting game. I mean, on paper, it doesn't look like too much, but when you talk about like long season, implications here, Houston at Baltimore, Houston favored by a point and a half, and again, it looks like it's going to be Cooper Rush at the helm in Baltimore. But again, like a Baltimore loss here, all of a sudden you're sitting at 1-4. And if things are leaning with the way the reports are, you're gonna probably not have Lamar until after the bye week. So it's a big game, and the Ravens have a point differential this year of -3. They've scored 131 points, but they've given up 134. So like I bring up Derrick Henry because I don't know about you, but I think the game script here is pretty obviously if they're in control of this game, you're gonna let Derrick Henry kind of like go back to his Titans form. But with a Houston offense that's been pretty putrid. Like, what do you guys see from this game?
I um I feel like you look at the Ravens as another team that like their defense hasn't played up to its strengths. Like they are a better defense than they have shown. Ultimately, yes, they have to be able to prove that. But if you look at Houston, like Houston's been just so below average from what you expect out of them. You know, CJ Stroud has not been anything crazy. Nico Collins, with CJ Stroud not being, a shell of who he was his rookie year. His performance is also taking a little bit of a hit from there. Um,
Also, mind you, the
I
the Ravens this year through 4 games they've given up. They lost to the Bills, they've lost to the Lions, they lost to the Chiefs, allowing 35 plus points to all three of them. So,
Right, and
is it
as
bad or
much
is
as
it
like
good?
that, what the he? Oh wait, say that again.
The Raven, like talking on the Ravens defense, so you say like things just haven't clicked. Like, do you
You
think
got yeah. I
do you
mean,
think
you
it's
got to
just
look
been a
at
tough
that Bills
schedule?
game. Like the Bills game. First off, that first week that should have never happened. Like let's be for real. Derrick Henry, yeah, he's had a little bit of a mishap with ball security, and if he doesn't fumble there, and yes, they did let up a decent amount of points, but also that's Buffalo. Buffalo is a very high scoring team, one of the best offenses, if not one of the more dominant offenses in the league. Um, I don't. Derrick Henry doesn't fumble that ball, they win the game. Now, I just think their linebackers, their corners, they shouldn't. They're not that type of team that should be letting up that many points. But yes, they have to prove that. It doesn't help now that they don't have Lamar at offense to kind of mitigate any scoring that they let up. But I think that a little upset here might be going with Baltimore's spread, or maybe even leaning Baltimore money line, depending on if you think Derrick Henry's going to get the ball like that, but
Nick, you're
I think he is. I think Derrick Henry is absolutely due for a bounce back week now.
Nick, you're sitting at your flex position, looking at your bench. We already have 5 bye weeks this week. Things are tough. Players are dropping like flies, and you're staring at your flex spot right now, and you see Zay Flowers and Woody Marks.
Well, I would. This goes into my next point, actually, too. Um, I'm probably starting Woody Marks
Ooh, I like that.
simply based off of um, Nico Collins is the only Houston Texans receiver this season to have a game with 50 plus receiving yards in a game. No other receiver has gotten above 50 receiving yards in a game. Nico Collins is the only one. So not only would I start Woody Marks, I mean, I'm a CJ Stroud owner. It's been tough. It's been really tough to watch. But if I'm Houston, I'm also taking this as a very important game. You're going against a really bad defense that allows a lot of points.
Is
There's
it
an
bad or has it been a
opportunity,
tough schedule?
maybe a tough schedule. This will tell. I mean, this will tell. This is Houston's chance to really try to produce this offense that they need to. I mean, 26 points against the Titans. Like, yeah, it's great. It's the Titans. Like, Titans are 0-4, terrible team.
Yippee!
We know this.
Put
We know this.
cue the soundboard. Give a little
Yep.
clap.
Uh,
You beat the Titans.
Like,
Yeah,
congrats.
there we go.
Congrats, Houston. There we go. Woody Marks had over 100 yards rushing. Congrats. But, you know, I could see this game either being a shootout. Derrick Henry has 200 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns. It's back to Titans form, or we get a 6-3 final score, and Nico Collins finishes with 50 receiving yards. So I don't know. It really
But you're out on Zay.
depends
You
who
don't you
comes to
don't like
play on offense.
you don't like
I'm
Cooper
out on
Rush
Zay.
throwing him the ball.
I'm out on Zay, which sucks because Zay's had a really good start to the beginning of the season. He's finally kind of been showing he's the wide receiver one there for a reason, and his value, and I just think his development this season is going to go down. And it's not his fault. It's just the QB situation that they have over there. It's just not good, man.
Anything you want to touch upon before we move on, Brooklyn?
I think you're just looking at a middle of the line like defense when it comes for the Texans. With stopping the run, if that's really like the main thing that you're going to be looking at, is Derrick Henry this week. You know, like I said, I think Derrick Henry's due for a bounce back week. He's going to get a lot of targets here. All he has to do is hold on to the ball, and like at the end of it, like look at that guy. That's a big back.
Don't sleep on Justice Hill.
No,
You're right. You're right.
I'm snoozing.
First touchdown, Justice
No,
Hill.
no,
Is
no.
always the play.
My alarm.
They said if Derrick Henry's on the field, then Justice Hill isn't on the field.
My
All right,
My alarm-
that's an impact player right there.
my alarm goes off.
Derrick
It
Henry's
says
on the field. Justice Hill is not.
alarm goes off. It says Justice Hill. I snooze. I wake up 10
You
minutes
know-
later. I snooze again.
You know damn well if Derrick Henry fumbles again, Justice Hill's getting right in that backfield.
That'd be terrible. But
Yeah.
to keep let's keep the trend. You know, we're transferring, keeping similar topics. Cooper Rush starting for the Ravens. Going to another backup situation, but like the San Francisco hospital or the 49ers, because I can't tell the difference. We got Thursday night football, San Francisco at LA, line 7.5, and who is playing for the 49ers? Mac Jones, who's been a little banged up recently. No Brock Purdy, he's out. No Ricky Pearsall, he's out. No Juwan Jennings, he's out. So if you look at the depth chart, the number one receiver for the San Francisco 49ers going into this game is Demarcus Robinson. You might see like MVS, Sky Moore. It's ugly. It's ugly. Yeah, thank you. We needed that.
Sky
Also,
Moore.
Demarcus Robinson made his season debut last week after being suspended, and he ran sub 20 routes. So do we think
Consider the anytime for Demarcus Robinson? It's always a value play.
He ran
We saw
sub
it in Los
20 routes?
Angeles.
I think like can McCaffrey can he do everything? That's got to be the game plan. We're talking about the Ravens and there's one guy there, but look at the Niners right now.
You've
Maybe
seen
if
how
he
like,
had a
injury
healthy
prone he
Achilles.
is. Yeah,
I was
like,
gonna say,
you
yeah.
give that guy that many touches, I actually think he might be made of glass at that point. Like
Cool.
you can only get hit so many times.
If you were told in August that the 49ers would have 4+ injuries on the offensive side of the ball, how quickly would you have said McCaffrey's name?
He
Probably
probably would have
first
been
one.
the first one.
It's insane. Do we think 7.5? Like what do the books know? Like I know that the
I don't
49ers
know,
they lost
man.
Bosa. Like Fred Warner goes down, that defense is a whole nother thing. But I think the Rams are the third, maybe second best team in the NFC. I think they've really been clicking. They
agree.
kind of got a little bit of a unlucky loss there to the Eagles. Got to be better on special teams, but minus 7.5. Again, we don't know. Primetime games are always different, but this is it's going to be an ugly game to watch too. But I think this is a good win for the Rams. Good in division win. I say that
No, I
even though it
agree.
hasn't played yet.
Well, yeah, I know, but I agree. I mean, also Puka Nakua, clear wide receiver 1 in fantasy and in general.
miss him.
I mean, only 1 touchdown on the season, but leads the league in catches and already half 1,000 yards receiving,
He's
which through 4 weeks is pretty disgusting.
he's on pace for
Um,
over 2,000 yards.
Doesn't need to get into the end zone, can simply just put up an absurd amount of catches and yardage.
Close enough.
I think he's gonna torch this.
And to
Niners
touch up
secondary.
on that, you look at just the already the core that they have in Los Angeles with Puka and Devontae Adams. Devontae Adams has already racked up 3 touchdowns in just the last 4 weeks. He's had a touchdown every game except for week 1. Puka's already got his chemistry at Stafford just locked in. Those two are. I mean, that's you look at Puka's fantasy stats alone. He's just been dominating. Like, why would you ever trade him, right? But that and Kyron Williams in the backfield, like it's a pretty good, not trio, but +1. They got a solid offense there, and going against a already just not great 49ers team right now. I don't think that the Niners could possibly keep up with that amount of scoring.
Outside of McCaffrey, again, a lot of bye weeks in fantasy, a lot of injuries. Is there anybody on the San Francisco offense that you think could be an interesting play this week? Like, do you trust DeMarcus Robinson? Do you think MVS is going to get that 70-yard bomb at this point in his career?
I don't think you have room to do I trust DeMarcus? You don't really have any other backups here at this point. It's kind of you just gotta hope for the best, unless you want Kyle Juszczyk's girlfriend to come out there. I don't know, Kendrick Bourne maybe, like he could.
Oh, true. I forgot to mention Kendrick Bourne's on the roster.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kendrick Bourne's
I
there.
just. I just don't think there's no like you look at this team like people who are healthy and you're like all right we still have a chance here. You literally just have to hope for the best and hope that there's
I can
some
see
miracle
Brian
performance.
Robinson getting in there, probably a little bit. I mean, if they're gonna heavily rely on McCaffrey, they're gonna want to try to phase him out and not have him play every single snap. But I mean, you never know. I mean, coming off to a loss to the Jaguars, I mean, they need to bounce back somehow, and especially in division game. But
I do have one very sneaky, like like again, desperate. You missed it. Yeah, you missed out on the waiver claims. You want to stream a tight end, like Jake Tungus. I don't know, but there. You look through the last couple weeks. He got 5 targets last week because who else are they throwing to? But he's a guy that's already got 2 touchdowns on the year. And when you look around that receiving core right now, there are not many people that have that many minutes on the turf.
that is true. I was
It's
gonna
not a
say,
bad
if
look.
anything, just go to the tight end.
Right.
Just go to the tight end.
Where do you guys
Glorified Kittle.
where do you guys want to jump to next? Been all over the place this week.
Let's talk about the death of Carson Wentz.
Well, he's still alive, but you think he's dying
He's still alive.
dying overseas?
Yes.
I don't think he's used to the time change.
Yeah, that's gotta be it. Not just the massive.
I don't think he's
Myles
getting.
Garrett
He's not getting
who's-
enough
He's
sleep.
gonna be in his face 95% of every snap. You know what, Nico? I'll let you talk a little bit about this game, but it's god. I hope for Carson Wentz's health.
Oh, I forget where specifically is this game being played?
Is it Germany?
I think last week it was in Germany.
Okay.
No, last week was
That-
Dublin,
London.
London.
It's
Yeah.
in England.
Same thing.
Imagine you're like you don't really watch football and you're like, oh my god, this American sports in town, and then you go to watch Carson Wentz versus Dylan Gabriel.
But also, you can't say that because they've been in London for so long now.
Yeah, but
They have like 3 games in London. The
Yeah.
Patriots played in London twice.
I'm not saying this is the first time, but like you're gonna go put your product out there. You want to send good product, and we're
They don't
watching
know.
we're watching Dylan Gabriel make his NFL debut outside of the country. Interesting fact that I found.
Oh my god, that's so right.
There have
His
been-
family can't even go to watch him.
There have been this year.
Speaking of the Browns, anyone
Imagine-
see Shador Sanders, mouthing his responses to reporters in an interview earlier.
That's got to be the most insane thing I think I've seen.
Oh,
from a
it was
player.
it was also in response to somebody's comments or whatever. I don't know. Somebody was ridiculing him in the media, so that was his response.
It happens in like 2K. Like after that interview, like you just look at like all your stats. Like teammate chemistry definitely had to go down just a little bit there. I mean, like obviously I know you're competing for a job, but at the same time you can't just like when on a team just go out there and like make it known that you kind of are upset that someone else is starting.
I mean, AJ Brown just basically did that the other day, or not starting, but
He's a wide receivers can be divas. Like how often do you see a wide receiver put some cryptic quote, or like even the running backs do it too? But as a QB taken in the 5th round and you're miming to a reporter, I don't know, kind of nuts. But QBs in the last 2 seasons to win in their debut, or to a record in their debut, we're looking at 3-7. We're 2 for 2 this year though, or excuse me, not 2 for 2. Honestly, that line might be a little bit worse, but we've seen JJ McCarthy, Monday Night Football, welcome to the NFL, gets a win. We saw Jackson Dart last week, winning his debut. Not only is this like the line right now is 3.5 favoring Minnesota, but it's also the worst over under. I think we saw the line at 36.5. I know we were talking about some worries for this game. Like I think the one thing we've seen from this Cleveland team is that their defense can actually keep them in games. Like a terrible offense, but they've somehow made these games interesting. We've seen them defeat the Packers already this year. And again, that Minnesota defense isn't anything to, that's right up there near the Browns when we're talking about top defenses in the league. So is this going to be an incredibly ugly game? I think we're probably going to see at least 3 turnovers.
Yep.
But what
10 points total.
0-0 tie.
If
Put a dollar
I
on it.
The final
Put
score
a
will be
dollar on it.
five
I
to
want
two.
10% of that winnings.
5-2
5-2.
safety
Each
to win
team
the
gets one
game.
safety.
I have Jordan Mason in fantasy, and I really need him this week. So this
do
isn't
too.
your most pristine matchup. Justin Jefferson coming off his best week of the year, but Wentz looked really bad last week as well. So I I'd be worried with this starting anybody on this Vikings offense, and kind of the same thing for Cleveland. I mean, does anybody here have any opinions on like? Do you think Judkins is going to have a better day with a rookie QB? Do we think Jerry Judy or David Njoku finally put these targets into receptions?
I mean, I feel like Njoku could be one. Oh, what am I talking about? I feel like Njoku could be one, just because it's a big target. Dylan Gabriel to feel
How
comfortable
can
throwing to
you miss
someone.
him? I mean,
Yeah,
he's
you want to throw
The
to
hair
someone who might
gives
have a
it
good
away.
chance of pulling it in. You give it to one of the biggest guys who can catch the ball in the field. Jerry Judy. You got to have a quarterback who can throw the ball in the right spot. And like, do you really think Dylan Gabriel is that guy? Probably not yet. And you're going to need a lot more than a couple of passes.
I'm personally as someone that like I have Jerry Judy in a couple leagues, and the only reason I'm happy like there's no real data to back this up, but at least it's a change. Like I was so excited when Flacco was announced because Flacco's just gonna sling the rock, and like that's what he's done, but he's been so bad, and so like Gabriel
I mean,
coming
dude,
in
how old is he?
41.
Yeah,
41.
I mean,
So
like, come on.
But it is funny though, because
He's not Tom Brady. He shouldn't be playing still.
but when they signed him, what was it, 2 years ago? When Watson got hurt, he came in and he was
He
lighting
was
it up
he
on
was
their
like
offense. He was really good.
he was a
And then
Timu
they
Jameis
didn't want to
Winston.
re-sign him, so then they brought him back.
He's known for slinging the rock, but like Jerry Judy's not had a good year. David Njoku's not had a good
No.
year. I think the
Nope.
one thing that I'm gonna take away from this game is if Gabriel continues to start, we're probably gonna see early on what his safety is, so to speak. Like, is it gonna be like more of the check downs? Is it gonna be kind of these smaller plays like Njoku or Fanning? So it'd be cool if I saw him throw to Jerry Judy a lot, 'cause Jerry Judy, unlike don't look at the Madden ratings, but he's pretty solid in my opinion. So is this a
I mean,
game?
I feel like I think it's obviously a game where you're probably gonna see a lot of checkdowns. Like, I don't think I'm not at the Browns practices, so I don't see how well he's slinging it and where he's placing it. But I don't think like in a game, especially his first game ever, that they just let him give him free reign to you want to throw it.
I don't think he's gonna have time in the pocket long enough to even throw it downfield.
Right. That being said, since that Browns offense has been so subpar, and you're going against a pretty solid Vikings defense, I just want to put out a line I was looking at. Browns team under set for 16 and a half, which is disgusting. But if you're looking at this game, like you got a horrible Browns offense against a good Vikings defense and a mid Vikings offense right now. Could be better with JJ McCarthy against a very good Browns offense or sorry defense. I was looking at the Browns team under as if like we've seen plenty of teams score just 3 points in a game. This could just be another one of those instances. Keep an eye on that line. Take it with your own discretion, but that's something I'm just eyeing right now.
The line also changed to 4.5
4.5
in favor of the
plus
Vikings
4.5.
still. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Well,
That makes it a little more interesting. I don't see them covering by 5 points. That's a lot of points.
It makes you double check things. Makes you think, Also, I mean, we saw a lot of traction on fantasy. I mean, got to be in a deeper league here, but Isaiah Bond, with Cedric Tillman being out, there's a clear wide receiver 2 option open. But again, how valuable is the wide receiver 2 on the Cleveland Browns offense?
When you're a rookie like him, I mean, pretty valuable. I mean, he was an undrafted rookie, right? He got signed and he had legal issues.
Yeah, exactly.
He got picked up.
Another game that I really wanted to take this as my pick of the week. It's another ugly one. I mean, we're talking about you're opening up your Sunday to Vikings and Browns overseas, and then now I'm bringing it to New Orleans for Giants at Saints -2 in favor of the Saints. I think my favorite stat that I found for the week, and I'm gonna ask Brooklyn. I already asked Nick before we started recording, but Brooklyn Since 2015, how many times do you think the Giants have won back-to-back games?
How many times since 2015?
Yep. Have they won
I don't
back-to-back
even know.
games in a season?
I honestly don't know if I could put a number on that.
You gotta throw me one. What do you think?
Dude, my guess is gonna be like a million times off, like what a decent guess should
Fire away.
be. I'm gonna say like maybe 8 or 9.
Close. The answer is two. Twice. The New York Giants
Two
in 2016
in 7
and 2018.
years.
It has been 7 years since they won back-to-back games.
That is
Um,
insane.
it's the only time this year that the Saints are favored. And to be honest, I'm all over the Saints on this one. Also, I mean, I might be a little biased here, but Spencer Rattler, 0 for 10 to start his NFL career as a starter. There's got to be one. And the Giants, yeah, they beat the Chargers. I wasn't blown away by Jackson Dart's debut. I mean, Jackson Dart was he's like borderline Justin Fields. We saw like he did good on the ground, 10 rushes, was averaging, he did most of his damage on the ground. And the Saints, I mean, they haven't had too much of a there are too much experience this year with scrambling quarterbacks, but we saw last week Josh Allen had 7 attempts at over 6 yards per carry. So they could struggle there. Giants just lost Malik Neighbors for the year. So Darius Slayton, Wandale Robinson. If anything, I think this is just like the only guys I'm really looking at fantasy wise for the Giants are really going to be Dart and Scatabo. But with that all being said, I'm pretty heavy here on the Saints. I think that they pull this one out pretty easily.
I agree.
Yeah,
I think the wide receiver core now in New York is, I mean, obviously very shaky without Neighbors, and Jackson Dart's still just like so raw right now. You can't really, just because of a decent performance that he had opening up for his first start last week, if that's just really going to continue I mean, the Saints are awful in their own right, but yeah, but I also think that they're just the better team overall. They have a little bit more consistency with their core than the Giants.
I think this is going to be a high scoring game.
I agree. I also like the Saints here. A guy that you should probably look out for, and I'll talk about him more a little bit. Chris Olave. First few weeks hasn't found the end zone, but
He threw an interception last week.
He also threw an interception, which sucks. But
I can't believe I actually saw that. That was ridiculous.
He's getting an insane amount of targets, like 12, 13 last few weeks, double-digit catches. Wide receiver ones going up against the Giants have also received double-digit targets. If you look back last week, Quinn Johnston had 13 targets. Week 2, CD had 11. And then week 1, not necessarily saying he was the wide receiver 1, but at the time, Debo had 10 targets. And those guys all accounted for over 100 yards receiving.
I don't know if I can just hear Quentin Johnson, wide receiver 1. It still hasn't processed.
It's still weird, but 13 targets. So
it's like seeing Kyle Pitts have a good week last week. I'm like, how is that possible? We've been waiting on something like that for so long. Like, Quentin Johnson was supposed to be so good. He was just awful, like, for so long, or at least not living up to the potential now all of a sudden.
But I mean, it clearly tells you that teams are attacking this team's secondary with their best player. And with Chris Olave, he's been producing pretty well without getting into the end zone. So, I mean, I could see him getting probably close to 7 or 8 catches. Probably found in the end zone. Hopefully.
I just want to remind people, that Tyrann Mathieu took a look at the Saints and then decided to retire.
I forgot about that. I forgot
he said, I'm all good,
man. Too bad. I'm done.
It's like both that and like Tyreek Hill just destroying his knee and then clapping, screaming yes as he's being carted off the field. Just two of the moments of the season right now that just sticking out in my head, just like, what is happening?
I think the reason for Tyreek's reaction there, because everybody was confused. But I think the initial thought was that there was a possible route that he wasn't as injured as believed, and that he would be able to come back.
That is definitely a reality that he was not he's not as injured as he could have been because like I saw so many theories on how destroyed his knee. Obviously, it was bent the wrong way, but that easily could have been career ending even if he didn't want it to be. Like, but hey, maybe he gets out of Miami and farewell tour to the Chiefs.
With that being said, though, I mean the Dolphins are -1.5 on the road against the Panthers. So no Tyreek. Like I know we've been talking a lot about dogs and we've been talking a lot about these home favorites here, but do the Dolphins kind of like get a little bit more on track here? Do they get the 2 wins in a row? I mean, Panthers looked really bad last week, but you want to talk about a confusing team to rank? You go up 30-0 on the Falcons at home. You then get blown out by the Patriots on the road. And now you're back at home against an offense that just lost its number one target. Miami's defense is ranked 32nd in EPA per play, meaning it's the worst thing out there. So not too much I want to discuss on this game, but anything you guys really want to bring up here specifically?
I mean, HA gonna get just so many more carries here, and like what is it? It's Waddle, and who's behind Waddle?
Malik Washington.
Malik Washington, who by the way has more rushing than receiving yards, and he is a wide receiver.
So he
has 60
Waddle,
rushing yards.
You cover Malik Washington, and then you bring up Kelsey Plum to Darren Waller.
Right.
Darren Waller might actually be a legit fantasy threat.
I was gonna say though he is now one of the more prominent options in that offense. Crazy that he came out of retirement.
Not only came out of retirement, but like you haven't seen him through 4 weeks. Everybody's been confused on when he's going to come out there. And then he played like less than a quarter of the offensive snaps and somehow found the end zone twice. I think his production is going to go up. But I also think for Carolina, I think this is a good spot if you have any fantasy stake there. Like Bryce Young, I think both Bryce Young and Tua are two very good options for streaming quarterbacks this week. I think this, Ted McMillan, you talk about a guy that's been getting double-digit targets. Catch rates like at like 50%, but this is a day to do it.
I was just about to say, and like he's a rookie. I mean, it's gonna happen. He's starting slow, but the targets are there. I mean, Bryce is feeding him. It's just a matter of time to where he's actually pulling in those targets.
If the Panthers offense doesn't look good this week, then I think there's real questions about Bryce Young as that QB of the future. I know there's always been questions, but if you can't look good against this defense, I think that kind of speaks for itself.
Also, quick note too: before Tyreek Hill was in Miami, Jaden Waddle in 17 games for the Dolphins pre Tyreek Hill, 112 catches, over 1,100 yards receiving, and 8 touchdowns. So, I mean, he's still a number one option if he necessarily needs to be. I feel like a lot of people have been disrespecting Jalen Waddle this week, but I mean he's still a very plausible option.
I mean, anytime
a
guy gets
he's still a valuable guy to that offense.
Right, but anytime a guy gets off to a slower start than he once had before, he is going to get all that backlash. But if you're looking at, I don't know, I'm looking at the Panthers right now, and like besides Ted McMillan, like who else is really a threat?
Tommy Tremble.
I mean, for right now, yeah.
And Chuba.
Where's that hairline going, Hunter Renfrow?
And Chuba Hubbard,
Adam, this would be Adam Thielen would be thriving right now.
I understand the Dolphins is that bad, but like the Panthers' offense is also that bad.
They just put up 30 points against Atlanta,
and then stunk against the Pats.
But you're looking at like Bryce Young's options. Like Bryce Young hasn't been great in his own right, but he doesn't have too much to work with. Xavier Leggett puts Cetaphil on his skin, is what we know, and eats raccoons. And then Hunter Renfro's old. I don't know. He doesn't have too many options to work with anyway.
I did see that he eats raccoon. That was crazy.
We got to rapid fire a couple of these because there is one more game I want to talk a little bit more on. So to rapid fire a couple of these because I didn't notes wise. It seems like we didn't have too much here. Sunday night game, Buffalo -8.5 with New England coming to town. Really, I mean, it seems like the line's pretty close, but it's a game that I kind of want to stay away from. I think Buffalo could very easily just demolish the Pats on a Sunday night game, but again, the Saints were in that game, and I think that team outside of Josh Allen is, they rely on Josh Allen, I think, a lot more than people realize, as dumb as that sounds. But James Cook's obviously been elite. But the Patriots defense, especially that D line with Milton Williams there, has really stepped up. So I think this game could be interesting for New England, but I am staying as far away from it as I can.
Yeah,
Um,
same here. I mean, one thing I would watch for like fantasy wise, Drake May. I mean, Buffalo's defense hasn't necessarily been good against scrambling QBs.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Drake May, third in the league in scrambles for quarterbacks this year. Bills defense has also let up 11. Like I'm pretty sure out of 11 scrambles, they let up 7 first downs. So
I was gonna add,
just
yeah, go
just
ahead.
important to watch.
Yeah,
Keep in
the
mind,
Bills
especially
defense hasn't been great, just in general. Like,
yeah, yeah.
they've let up a lot of score, especially like this. Look at the Saints almost beating them last week, and then the Dolphins was at that game. That was stupidly close for a team that is the worst defense in the league. So as much as the Bills are an offensively dominant team, and that whole everyone eats mindset makes it hard to figure out who you really need to focus on, their defense hasn't been doing much to stop the scoring anyway. So that's a dangerous spread. I feel that game could definitely kind of turn against that.
And Patriots have been scoring the ball, rushing it, passing it, special teams. Like if
Fumbling
they
it.
don't, like literally, they can score somehow anyway right now. So I mean, it really,
I don't know. I think it's tough to go into Buffalo, especially on Sunday
it's
night.
fine. They lose in Buffalo, but then they're gonna come to Foxborough, and then they're just gonna blow them out of the water. That happens every year.
I'll hold you to it. Titans at
Nope.
Arizona.
You think Stephon Diggs is gonna flip off the Bills fans if he scores?
Probably.
It's like the fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. Just his own team.
Probably.
Titans at Cardinals, -7.5.
Awful game.
Yeah,
Terrible.
where's the poop sound here, or the side
Oh.
horn?
Right.
Anytime Titans are mentioned. Oh. All right, there might be abuse of power there with the buttons.
Terrible.
-7.5. Titans are ugly in every facet. Cardinals, James Conner goes down, out for the year. Week after that, Trey Benson put on IR as the day we're recording this.
Who I was gonna talk about today, and then had to change it up because he got placed on IR today.
Dude, it went
The
from
literal
just,
only bright spot of that team is Kyler Murray, and the fact that Marvin Harrison is not, he actually got a very big,
do his fingers work? Can he
very-
catch?
but he got a very meaningful touchdown last week, and that could always be the catalyst to something. But outside of that, they don't have much going on in Arizona.
Yeah, I was with somebody that, like, a very casual NFL fan that I was watching it with, and Marv scored. And Marv, like, when he scores, he gets on, he's like pretty emotional. And like my friend was like, "Oh, was that like dedicated to like a family member, like something like really bad happened in his life?"
He's just sucked recently.
Like no, he didn't. No, he dropped the ball earlier.
No, he's just been
No,
really
he's
bad.
he's just celebrating that he caught the ball.
Roll Cardinals there. Denver Philly could be really interesting. Decent amount of money on Denver, and I kind of like that. I mean, Philly, if there's one thing that, like, they've been shown to be a good team this year, but the offense has really had a lot of question marks. I mean, Jalen Hurts has been one of the worst passing QBs in the league, and Denver is the best cornerback in the league. I feel bad for AJ Brown. It doesn't look like it's going to get any better this week. So I think I think if we're going to look back, like, I'm not a big Bo Nix fan myself, but if we're going to look back at this week and think of, like, some underdogs that we didn't discuss that definitely could have done something, I think this game's going to be close. I mean, 3.5, I think shows that well, but one wrong move on special teams, and I think Denver walks out of this with a win.
I agree. I agree. I could see definitely an upset here, and I mean that total discourse with that whole offense going on right now with AJ Brown and Devonta Smith, and just like the lack of targets and receptions, it's causing for a big discourse, and I mean I feel like it's pretty noticeable. And if it just gets worse, it's gonna create more problems.
If Hurts is forced to throw, I think Denver really takes control of this game. Like, if they can't get Saquon going on the ground, which, I mean, easy to get done, but that D line holds up, and you're forcing him to target AJ Brown, who's going to have Surtain on him. This might be a good Devonta Smith game, but I think it's going to be ugly for Philly.
It's also going to be a big question if Philly's D line can go against this Broncos O line. This Broncos offensive line has been rated #1 going into this week. They've been able to hold up pretty well, so
It's gonna be a good game.
definitely be interesting to see. Yeah, I mean, it could be nitty gritty, that's for sure. I think if we're talking about close, low scoring games, I would put this game in there simply based off of defensive snaps. And both these teams have honestly pretty good defenses. It's just a matter of who's going to get the upper hand.
We got Vegas at the Colts. Colts -7. Even though money looks pretty even, I think
I think
I
it's
mean
pretty high.
I I mean it's crazy to like how favored the Colts are. I mean the Colts secondary I think is pretty bad. So like I think there is a script where the Raiders could actually come out of this, and it solely relies on Geno Smith airing it out and not throwing crazy picks like he was doing last week.
I was gonna
Um,
say it's been happening every time he tries to air it out. So
But this Raiders defense hasn't looked great. Daniel Jones is continuing to do the job. I mean, he didn't look great against the Rams
Mhm.
last week, but he's been proven that this Colts team is pretty legit. And I don't know, -7 shows that this game is going to be probably an ugly one, but I think the Colts take care of business.
It'd be exciting to see a Genty versus Jonathan Taylor matchup too.
Yeah,
Both,
he's got his
both have
stance
been,
back. Look out.
yeah,
Um,
rushes for a 64-yard touchdown.
I think Pittman and Downs now with Jones have a pretty good thing going on at the moment. So it's
We're
kind of
gonna
hard to
see a
disrupt
Donnie
everything.
Mitchell on a football field again.
yes, you will. Yes, you will.
Okay.
75 yard. Yeah, you celebrate too. We see it every year. Always there's
Yeah, I
every
know.
time I see that clip, I'm like, wow.
Deshaun Jackson.
How excited,
Deshaun
like,
Jackson.
like you do get your couple seconds of fame. Like why are you gonna drop the ball so quick? I don't know.
That's
That's
what I'm saying.
I'm
Dude.
not an
Just
NFL
hold on
player,
to
but
it.
like, yeah, I would wait until I am
If
fully
I
on the
scored,
letters.
I would not drop that.
We got the Bucks at the Seahawks. Seahawks -3.5. Not gonna lie, I got another one that I really want to talk about is like one of my favorites for the like as a pick this week. But Bucks
Good
are
game.
were 3-1 last year as road underdogs. This year they're 2-0. And Seattle, I don't want to say they're fluky, but their 3 wins this year have been against the Cardinals, the Steelers, and the Saints. They played against the 49ers, and that's probably the most healthy the 49ers have been, and it was still an ugly game, but Tampa, I think they've looked great. The O-line's getting healthier. Chris Godwin's going to be coming back. So I think, yeah, if there's a road dog to bet on, I mean, I'm going to take Baker all day. Unless anybody else has anything there.
Nope.
I'll
I
head
know
nods.
Bucky's
Traded him
questionable
with
going
Puka.
into this weekend.
Yeah,
but,
Bucky's got
I
a boot
mean,
on. I think fantasy-wise,
I
and
know-
monitor Rashad White.
Rashad White, Sean Tucker, who also we've seen now that this Tampa Bay run room has been able to produce. I mean, that's kind of how Bucky won the starting job last year. They kind of were rotating through backs. It was him, Sean Tucker, and Rashad White, and Bucky won that starting job pretty convincingly. But Sean Tucker, though, just an eye to watch out for. Not like if he's available if you're in like a dynasty league and Bucky's injury is going to be really that serious. I mean, Rashad White, he's getting touches again, but we've seen that last season, and he can't. If he can hold on to the football, but
I think Rashad's pretty
turnovers.
serviceable. I mean, you saw him against Houston in week 2. He had a couple big breakout plays. Yeah, they were rotating between him and Bucky, but he was formerly the starting running back in Tampa Bay, and I think if it comes to it, he can definitely get the job done still. But yeah, ball security.
Not
of
saying
course,
he
number one.
can't.
Former RB24.
Just saying, yeah, for
Um,
consistency issues, and I just know fumbling the football was always a problem for him especially last year.
If anybody believes that Jacksonville beats the Chiefs, they're +3.5 at home. Feel free to take the floor. All right, and
I think it could be a close game. I
I-
definitely think this could be one of those games that could be close. I know Mahomes is undefeated against the Jags. I looked; he's 4-0. And Lawrence in their last 2 meetings has not won a game. But Lawrence has actually have had some pretty good games. He had over 250 yards passing against the Chiefs last 2 games. This Chiefs defense is actually pretty good though on paper. if you
This
look
is
at it. I mean, stats wise, they allow less than 20 points a game. I think they're top 10 in points allowed for defense. And I mean, Brian Thomas has been kind of a disappointment to start
Oh,
the year.
stop.
Um,
Scared of
I
getting
know I'm
hit.
sorry. I
Oh,
know I'm
Brian
sorry.
Thomas.
Yeah,
Oh,
sorry. The only,
uh,
I mean, one bright spot is Travis Etienne. I mean, he's kind of found his mojo back. He's kind of been a decent surprise. I mean, going into this year, he was kind of
he's
in
won the
question
backfield.
to lose. Yeah, I mean,
It's his.
he was in question to lose his starting job and basically won it after week one, uh, and then got his competition traded away. So, I mean, one player obviously, Travis Etienne, he's gonna be very reliable on the run and the pass game. I think Lawrence has a good game though. I mean, he looked great against San Fran last week. I mean, coming off a big win against a 3-0 team, I could see it. Not saying they will
I
do it, but I could see it.
I think this is like the tell game for the Jags. Like again, you beat up a Niners team that had Mac Jones, which I say beat up. Like that was a pretty close game. But I think it kind of
Hmm.
shows what Liam Cohen's offense can be capable of, and it's going to show like again how legit this Jags team is. I feel like they've been another team that we don't really know the script on too well, and they're gonna have a pretty legit matchup. So I'm excited to watch it. But with that
I
being
think it'll,
said, oh sorry,
I
you want
think I think also it'll be interesting one narrative. Where's Travis Hunter gonna play in this game? Is he gonna be on offense or is he gonna be on defense?
I just don't think the
That's one thing
Jags
that
know how to use them yet.
I don't either, but I think in prime games like this, like Chiefs when they play Ravens, stuff like that, it'll be interesting how they utilize him on the field,
Yeah,
like
I
where
just
they
well,
trust him more.
fantasy wise, I wouldn't start him until until you actually see some good traction. But he's I think very low. Like I don't think the risk is worth it. Long story short.
No, no,
But I was gonna take a jump cut, but I think we're all good to just fly right through it. Final segment, just debriefed all the games of the week. But let's talk. We all specifically picked out a start sit situation. Two players that I feel like in most fantasy leagues you're probably in similar spots deciding between the two. Um, I know one of them being a little bit more on the crazier side. We're starting with Brooklyn because I see two receivers taken in the first round of this draft, or of like consensus fantasy drafts. But both been really ugly. And, I'm gonna let you take the floor there.
Yeah, should you be in a situation where you somehow acquired both Jamar Chase and AJ Brown, and you're trying to figure out which one of those to start? Um, there's a lot of logistics, like or logical things that have to be kind of thought through here. Like, you look at Jamar Chase, very talented in his own right, and with Burrow, had a very solid game against Jacksonville. 16 targets there before the injury happened. Then the thing is, he's got Jake Browning at quarterback. that's like the primary issue here. But we're trying to figure out who I would start between Jamar or AJ. I'm gonna give the cons first. Is that Jamar literally just has Jake Browning at quarterback, and that's gonna be the thing. Is when teams play the Bengals, you got to take Jamar out of the equation, and you can do that, and all of a sudden teams are looking at a lot less dangerous scoring options that the Bengals are using. Of course, Chase Brown is still gonna be a threat there, and T Higgins is there, I guess. But if you look at Jamar Chase, he's going to demand targets no matter what. Now, let's talk about A.J. Brown real quick. Obviously, very visibly frustrated with his usage. He had a social media post basically like subliminally hinting at, like, being very unhappy with just how he's being used in the Eagles offense. And yes, Jalen Hurts has been very bad with his passing game so far. Not to mention, he's also clearly the background option behind Saquon, obviously. So you take that with a struggling passing quarterback, with a guy who's also splitting targets with Dallas Goedert, Devonta Smith, and he should be due for looking for a breakout performance. But playing against the Broncos this week, the Eagles are not just going to try to force him the ball just to try to keep him happy. So should you have Jamar Chase or A.J. Brown, you try to figure out who's the best one. I would definitely lean more towards Jamar Chase because he's going to absolutely demand more targets, has a much higher ceiling, much more opportunities this week to possibly, make something special happen just this week over A.J. Brown going against the Broncos, who also just doesn't get the same volume that Jamar sees. So I lean Jamar. That's me.
Would you go Jamar or Cortland Sutton?
You see, now I would go. Ooh, that's a tough one. For the sake of if you're going PPR, I would go a lot more towards Jamar, just because he's gonna demand so much volume when it comes to passing the ball. He is the guy that they're going to try to get the ball
If
Interesting.
to.
going PPR, I would go Cortland Sutton.
I was gonna say I'd probably lean Sun there. I mean, I think the only hope I have for
He's also
Jamar in this
found the end
game
zone.
is that the Bengals are down so much that they actually have, like, I mean, the example last week would have been obvious too. Like, you just got to force it to Jamar, but I mean, that's where Surtain was shadowing him, and that's the only reason. Like, I think every other game this year, I would pick AJ Brown instead of Jamar Chase, but with Surtain there, I think this is gonna be another rough game for Brown.
And the only reason I led, for PPR for that purpose was because I was looking back at week 2 and he got, I mean, I think 16 targets in a game for being the favorite receiver, absolute favorite
I
receiver.
wish they could do that every week.
Right?
Yeah. If you look at
Um,
Cortland Sutton, week 1, 6 catches for 61 yards and a touchdown. So Cortland Sutton has scored a touchdown in every week except week 2.
You go Jamar or AJ, Nick?
I'm going Jamar.
Okay. Okay, so we're all in the same boat there. I think mine's so ugly, but I really can't wait to hear your thoughts on it. Because again, we're talking week 5 buys. We see the Falcons, the Bears, the Packers, Steelers. A lot of good options there. But when you're looking at QB streaming options this week, two guys are so similar this year. Geno Smith, CJ Stroud. It's ugly. Um,
This pains me. This pains me.
This week, both teams have an over-under of 20.5 total points. When you talk again about EPA per play, Stroud ranks 25th, Geno ranks 27th. But Geno Smith does lead when it comes to explosive playness. So basically, between the two, Geno Smith is definitely going to be the guy that's going to make you a little bit more scared, raise that heart rate when he throws it downfield, and it's either Trey Tucker or it's in a safety's hands. Whereas for Stroud, again, we talked a lot about this matchup already with the Baltimore defense, but I'm kind of leaning towards the side that I think this Baltimore defense is playing a lot worse than it actually is, and they've had some tough matchups. And looking again, game script wise, I think that Geno is going to be in a spot where he's going to have to throw it. Like, I think Stroud could be in a scenario where Cooper looks really bad, they can't establish the run, and, the Texans offense can kind of, manage the game from there. So I lean a little bit more Geno here, even though statistically he kind of has been a little bit worse. But I'm banking on that boom play there. And in the last 2 weeks, both Nix and Stafford have thrown for 3+ touchdowns against the Colts. So I'm on Geno here, but I know, Nick, you were talking about you got Stroud in Dynasty. You like Stroud? You still gonna start him over Geno?
I mean, yeah,
Why?
I would personally, because
Nico Collins down there somewhere.
kind of Nico Collins down there somewhere, and also like I said before, I mean this is kind of the game where if I'm Houston, like you are really trying to get your other receivers going again, like especially against like a defense like this where they're allowing points to be scored up on the board. Like there's going to be opportunities to get these guys there. Jaden Higgins, like he's not bad. He's a pretty good rookie. He has shown flashes. He just more than 50 yards, please. I mean, it's ugly for both teams. I think it's an ugly start. I mean,
You mean a lot. You can nice. You can be good.
I don't know. I think I would sit both.
Okay,
I
well
think
that's
both
not.
have-
That's what is the title of the segment? is it
sit both.
put him on the bench?
Bench the entire
I am going. I'm sticking with Stroud.
Sticking with Stroud.
I'm gonna stick with CJ.
Brooklyn, you're the tiebreaker here.
I kind of lean more Stroud.
All right, I'm leaving. Okay.
And I gotta say that because to me, Geno every week is such a boom or bust type of quarterback. Like
I'm risking it for the biscuit. You don't play fantasy football
I also
to finish
think.
in
I also
fourth.
think just Brock Bowers being injured and trying to play through the injury really isn't helping him either.
right, and they even
That's
said
his
on
number
Vegas
one
he
target.
hasn't.
That's
He just hasn't
really not
looked the
producing.
same since he's been trying to play through his injury. And I think if you look at the Texans, like who they have, like just at disposal for their offense, it's a little bit just the overall receiving core is a little bit more safe than Trey Tucker putting up a random 40 bomb, by the way, which I didn't see that until now. But but even that, like you can't depend on that, and Geno's just had a rough couple of weeks with interceptions. I think Stroud's the more like safe to get you between number to maybe a pretty decent week. and Gino's either gonna get you like 6 or 30.
Well, yeah,
I just
I was
think
gonna
both
bring
of
that up.
these guys.
Gino was
The only
QB4
thing
week 3.
That's crazy. The only thing that scares me about both of these guys is that if one of them throws a turnover, like fumble, interception, like that's just downhill. Like it's just gonna start it downhill from there.
Well, I
I
almost
need
think
and
it's
Jameis
kind of a
Winston
lock.
once said, I need God to deliver me from these pick sixes.
And look,
And
I just looked at Stroud's prior 2 meetings against the Ravens. Has not thrown a touchdown at all. He's
so
thrown one.
that's
Well,
helping your
now he's throwing.
case.
Now
He's got
he's.
he's got over 400
Join me on
yards
the Gino
passing.
side.
I
He's
was
got
about
a
to
passer
say.
rating of 70.
I was about to say we just went
Uh,
from like let's start Stroud to like he hasn't thrown a touchdown against the Ravens.
Shit, maybe not.
yeah.
But
I'm
at the
riding
same
Gino.
time, like, uh,
Pause.
but at the same time, I just think you look at who's got a more like solid like overall who's got more reliable weapons right now, and Nico Collins, Christian Kirk, or at least two that you can depend on to be there to make a play. It's gonna be up to C.J. Stroud to put the ball where it's gotta be, and then honestly the game's gonna be up to Kaimi Fairbairn.
Yeah. The kicker.
Game of the
It's gonna
kickers,
be-
baby.
It's gonna be that ugly that Fairbairn it will be that factor.
I could go over mine really quickly.
I was gonna say fire away.
Yeah, we already touched on mine. Mine is between Jalen Waddle and Chris Olave. And I think this one can kind of be a toss up. I think I personally am starting Olave over Waddle. And that's just because the production and it's already there. Like the target shares and everything is just kind of already there. It's been shown last 4 weeks that like Waddle's the wide receiver 1 for New Orleans.
Waddle
And
is?
matchup wise. Sorry, Olave. Not
Jalen
I
Waddle's
would
now the
if
wide
I had
receiver one for
Waddle
New Orleans.
if I if I had Jalen Waddle, I would obviously start him. But I mean, if you just based off of consistency and like you know what you're getting, I would personally start Chris Olave.
What about you, Brooklyn?
I feel like it is tough. I like where Nick's at with like the production's already there, but right now just with like the circumstances of in Miami, it's very clear who's going to be getting a lot of the targets from Tua. The only thing is Tua's just not great.
It's not like Spencer Rattler's any better.
Right. Yeah. I guess Olave is a little bit more of a pretty consistent at least ish double digits player. I think it'd be interesting. You know what? Did I go Waddle? I think I am going to also lean Olave, just because the consistency is there, and it's going to be really. Waddle's going to have to, show that he is the clear wide receiver 1 right now after the injury. So I think there's a lot of uncertainty in Miami. I wouldn't really start Waddle. Yeah.
That's where I'm gonna disagree. I do agree. Olave. I disagree. I do agree. Olave's always had a lot more targets, but his depth of target this year has been a lot different. Like he hasn't been that deep threat as in the past, where he's been a little bit more checkdowns. Like he does get the end zone targets, which is something you look for. Jalen Waddle, the last few times that he's played, granted it's been a while since he's played. Well, it's been a Waddle since he's played without Tyreek, but but
Thank you. I was too late for that, but appreciate it.
Last 2 games he's played without Tyreek, 2 touchdowns. Again, it's a long time ago. I'm going back to 2023. Game without Tyreek, 9 targets, 8 catches.
Before Tua had like a jelly brain, but
also fair, but 142 yards and a touchdown. I think Waddle's always been a really dynamic athlete. They paid him. I think he's one of the top wide receiver 2s when you talk about AAV. And again, I think, you look at the game lines, we talked about how it is, we kind of do like Carolina in this spot, but I think if, Tua is going to have to throw to somebody, Darren Waller's, I don't know if he's got the juice to run all the way up and down the field. So I'm going to take the explosiveness in Waddle here in hopes, that we get a pretty explosive day. So as someone that actually owns both of them in a league, I am starting Waddle over Olave.
Something to monitor.
Well,
Though.
that's stupid.
Rashid
We'll find
Shaheed.
out next week.
Rashid Shaheed is something to always keep an eye on for the Saints. You know, he's also one of those guys who really
Oh,
goes off.
he's the
from
emergency bench.
At absolutely nowhere. Rashid Shaheed can pop off for the Saints. So,
But to
keep an
overview,
eye on him.
couple of our our favorite picks for the week. We have Brooklyn, or actually, yeah, we have Brooklyn taking the Chargers at -2.5 against Washington. Nick
Bump
taking
that up even higher while it's there.
Nick taking Detroit -10.5 against Cleveland, and I'm taking the Jets at +2.5 at home against the Cowboys. So gonna be fun to see how those turn out next week. But with that being said, that's episode 1, the pilot episode complete. The plane is off in the air. How do we feel? How do we feel? Does it feel good to be in front
The
of a
plane
microphone
has
again?
taken off.
I wonder if let's I got a good challenge for us from week 5 starting for the rest of the NFL season. Let's keep a track of how many units we go up if we play our own plays here.
No, yeah, I'm gonna keep totals on this each week to see, because I personally, all love,
Now,
but
regardless
I
of,
want to finish out on top.
from regardless of from week 1, I'm gonna start my unit count from now.
I love
Yeah,
it.
no, me
I
too.
love it.
Fresh
I love
slate.
that.
I've never been down to the books since week 5.
Social media wise, follow us on _pod on X, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. I'm gonna be posting a lot more there, posting both podcast clips and stuff outside of the podcast. So if you want more content, feel free to hop over there. But that's all from me. Hope you guys have a great week. Hope your fantasy teams go the way they should, except for Nick and Brooklyn, because I am in a couple leagues with them. But that's all from me.
You're playing one of you this week.
4 total leagues, yeah.
Guys, this is where you say goodbye.
Oh, right. These
goodbye.
guys.
I am playing Nico this week. So.
Any
Goodbye,
words?
you. Chargers -2.5.
Chargers -2.5.
Love it.